As a leader in the field service industry, no doubt you've heard about the somewhat silly sounding but often cited phrase, servitization. Equipment businesses are realizing there's a huge profit margin to gain from offering strong service programs. The word servitization just recognizes the shift in manufacturers' business models from being product dominant to customer and service centric. Here are some steps to get you started on the path to servitization. Number 1, offer basic product-related services. These might be break-fix services or basic preventive maintenance. Number 2, develop service offerings to support already sold products. Number 3, move beyond product support and offer more complex services like maintenance, education, design, and implementation services. Number 4, offer equipment monitoring and proactive services. Number 5, take responsibility for customers' entire machine-based process and sell based on equipment performance and outcomes. Manufacturers today need to empower their dealers to provide the sort of service-centric experience customers expect if you want to stay successful in the future.
This shift towards a more service-oriented business model is known as servitization. Servitization involves offering more comprehensive market packages, often referred to as bundles. These bundles combine a physical product with a service to provide added value compared to what was previously offered.
As is often the case in life, things are more complex than they first appear.
The combination of a physical product and a service can be categorized within a product-service system, taking into account the importance of the different components of the bundle. Where your offering falls on the graph depends on your core value proposition. If it's more to the left, it means your customers primarily buy your bundle because of the excellence of your physical product and the additional service is not the main selling point. Conversely, if your offering leans toward the right side of the graph, the service takes center stage while the physical product acts as a mere tool to enable customers to use the service you provide. Let us take the company Stoll for example. Stoll has been and is still the market leader when it comes to knitting machines. However, their machine sales have been on a decline over the past few years due to reduced global demand. Their machines are simply too good and run for decades. To counter the decrease in machine sales, Stoll has begun introducing service packages that can be bought together with the machine or separate for customers that already have a machine. These include regular machine maintenance because even though the machines are exceptionally reliable, they still require routine inspections and maintenance. Additionally, they offer packages like a flat rate for on-demand remote help desk support. For instance, if a customer in China encounters software issues with their machine, they can call Stoll for immediate assistance, minimizing production downtime. Now, let's revisit the graphic we discussed earlier. It's evident that Stoll's high-end machines remain their core value proposition. However, they've smartly integrated service packages into their portfolio. Consequently, we would position them on the left side of the continuum. We call this servitization model product-oriented. Let's explore the concept of a results-oriented service where you pay solely for the outcome. Imagine this scenario. Porsche Cars North America (PCNA) has launched a short-term rental and peer-to-peer car-sharing service called Drive One. The program offers customers the ability to borrow various Porsche vehicles for different lengths of time, from just a couple of hours, or up to a month or more if you are going on vacation or a business trip. The Drive program is run by Porsche's partner Clutch Technologies and offers white-glove concierge delivery service. Pretty cool, right? Let us revisit the graphic one last time. Porsche's new on-demand rental car program is a result-oriented service. You no longer pay for a car, you now pay for on-demand mobility, which includes the delivery of the car. You pay for the result and nothing else.
And in principle, it doesn't really have to be only equipment. It could be a process, a solution, or something. But here we are focusing on industrial equipment or solutions that are provided and paid for as a service instead of as a product. And where the ownership of that equipment or solution stays with the OEM. So it means that you do not make a transactional purchase of the equipment, you pay for usage. It could be subscription, it could be paid per use and stuff like that. But that's kind of the definition. That this is that we see there is a huge interest in this. So this is just from one study that you can find out there, is that it's projected to grow really, really rapidly. So a year-to-year growth of 54%, that's astonishing. And you can see 132 billion in global revenue in 2025. So actually both Paula and Christian said it, but this is about value creation. I think that's one of the really key thing in this kind of model. Starting to think about how can you as in this case, it will not be an OEM, it will be a service provider. How would you actually work together with your customer, the consumer of your service, and actually help to create the most value? So suddenly you start getting first of all, you need to think differently. You need to really be innovative in the way that you go and approach and use your key competences as the one producing this service, the OEM, on how you actually can create the most value at your customer, because that way, that's how you actually increase your revenue, by going out there and being even better at doing that. Come with core competences of whatever it is that this equipment is. If it's in Christian case, they know everything there is to know about autonomous mobile robots. So who would be better to go and actually service and maintain these, but also who actually knows what are the capabilities, what can they truly deliver to the end customer. So if you go to if we take Christian's example, go to a customer that are just starting out with mobile robots, how are they going to get started on that? How are they going to know what value this is really going to give them? How are you doing that? And we're doing that today by doing ROI calculations and all of this stuff. But what if it actually was a true partnership where you came in with a service and said, you know what, we're going to deliver this to you and you can do something. I think that's a very strong element of this model.
So the benefit of the lease is in the cash. Let's say in this, the two models are similar. There is a cash advantage because we don't have to do the investment. But the equipment as a service, for me, is a much more evolved solution that gives more control on the cost to the customer and less responsibility on the operation of the equipment.
Jesper, any thoughts on the difference between service and leasing?
I think it's been summarized quite well, but I think it's actually a bit back to, for me, this is about value creation. And I think both Paula and Christian also mentioned this. So you can argue, seen from a financial point of view, there isn't really a lot of this difference in these two models. The entry barrier, as you indicated yourself, is kind of low for both of them. But it's this about you transfer some of the responsibility to the OEM that can actually come in and provide the very best output with you as the end customer. And I think that's a key differentiator in this.
We need to change from this, I need this machine, to a different mindset that tells what do I need the solution to do. And it's about moving or handling this product from the end of the line to the docking, to the loading docks, for example, or is about a battery that, stores this energy. I mean, we need to express our needs in a completely different way. And this is, for me, the first enabler. And then,
so if we start at the bottom with the monitoring analytics, so we call that the operational technologies. So it's obvious. I think we've already mentioned it a number of times now, but it's clear that if you are to offer something as a service, you need to know how it's performing. You need to know where it is. So if it's Christian's example, you need to know where the robot is. It's not good enough that you have a delivery slip when it left the production floor in terms of where it was going. No, you need to be able to be connected with it. You need to know if it's running. You need to know what the health of the solution is. And of course, you need that to make sure that it's constantly up and running and delivering the value that you are promising to do. But you also, of course, also need it if you have usage-based pricing and that kind of things. So you actually can go in and do the usage-based billing, invoicing on a recurring interval. So clearly that's it. And this is also where you start bringing in the AI capabilities and all this that we hear. So performance management, where you look at predictive maintenance and these kind of functionalities, which can become quite powerful in ensuring that you actually deliver the necessary service, the necessary uptime performance of the equipment that you are offering as a service. And lastly, R&D or product development. So doing this and going to an as a service model, and we talked about that when we talked about circular economy and so on, it opens up a complete different way of designing the products and the mindset of actually going in and doing something, which I think is extremely valuable. And again, something again that a company can take advantage of, where they really can come with an innovative angle to this. So that's kind of the mindset in this. Then what we have in the outer circle is kind of taking some of this lean startup kind of mindset and saying, well, all of that is extremely daunting, right? That's a lot of stuff, and you shouldn't actually go and do that at once. So it's a matter of actually taking it in small steps, the build, measure, learn principles. So start small, do some pilots, do some proof of concepts, do some minimum viable solutions, and all these cool buzzwords. Go out, test with the customer, and learn. And this is exactly what we're doing right now, is going out there, testing it in different scenarios, figuring out what's working, what's not working, because nobody has the answers in this right now. Taking these small iterations, trying to build and get this model to scale with everybody in this ecosystem, actually getting the most out of it. But and I think, just to take on that, I think a key thing in this for any OEM out there to actually take the step in this is to really, really take a step back and understand what value are you creating for your end customer. Yeah. Just to take an example, so if we take Christian's robot, so Christian is not offering robot as a service. Christian is offering internal transportation as a service or something like that. So understanding the true value of that, because that's when you can go in and start talking about value creation. And that's also when you can start actually talking between the customer and the OEM to really understand and appreciate what value is it that you are coming in and offering, and why is that differentiating? Because I fully agree with you on that, Paula, that of course it's somewhat easier to imagine it being utility kind of equipment that really critical infrastructure. But on the other hand, if you actually bring in a technology that you as an end user do not have competences in, do you want to build it up, or do you actually want to partner up with someone that can come in and offer it to you as a service that come with a documented value of what it is that you really need of an output?
Servitization implies a culture shift away from looking at service as a necessary evil, as a must-have, or an after-sales activity. On the contrary, customer-focused companies that focus on servitization as a strategy look at services with a capital S as a revenue and profit source in its own right. Why is servitization accelerating today? Think of three main reasons. First, customers are actively asking for it. They have learned over time that they can and should be more demanding on their suppliers and ask them to show them the money, and services are a way to do it. Second, servitization is growing because competition is relying on servitization. Competitors have understood that they can differentiate from competition and ask for higher margins and better prices through services. And third, with the digitization of industries and the availability of data and analytics, more and more new services, new service business models have become available to suppliers in the market. Servitization provides a number of important benefits to suppliers. First, through servitization, they get closer to customers, become more customer-centric, and get a deeper customer intimacy. Second, they can change the conversation with customers and now talk about value, not volume, and prices. Because of this, third, they can now sell not only more of their own products, but also increase the scope and sell additional services and customer solutions. Fourth, customer satisfaction and loyalty go up because customers derive greater value from the products and services they obtain, and suppliers improve their own assets invested in working with customers. In sum, Servitization provides not only more, but also more stable revenue streams.
What is getting a lot of people excited is the particular situation when servitization is about the manufacturer moving to the delivery of advanced services. And those advanced services require the manufacturer to change their business model and transform their organization. Basically, if you think about a manufacturing company, they can engage with what we refer to as base services, which is the provision of product and spare parts. They can engage in intermediate services, which is the repair, the overhaul, the maintenance of those products and those spare parts of those products. Or they can engage in what's generally referred to now as advanced services. And lots of these examples exist. Sometimes examples out there include Rolls-Royce with Power by the Hour and Total Care, Xerox with print management systems, Alstom generating power by, again, a Power by the Hour type model. These advanced services are where the manufacturing company moves from a position of focusing just on the delivery of the product to rather delivering the capability that the product enables. Quite often, we couple these advanced services with a number of features. And if we're not careful, we actually use the features to define the service. But let's be clear, it's the capability, delivering the capability, which is the service. The features are that we'll quite often deliver this capability over an extended contract, say 10 years. We'll have some form of risk management in this relationship. We heard it this morning, a situation where there's some type of profit and revenue sharing. We couple this service with the notion of a pay-per-use for the service, that we will pay as we consume the service. And more, we're seeing the feature of cost down in this. So a typical service for somebody like Xerox delivering print management might be a 10-year contract delivering print management within, say, a telecoms provider. They'll take care of ensuring that every printer, every photocopier in the building is operating, no matter who's the manufacturer. You'll pay for it by click. Every time you click, you'll pay for the piece of paper that's printed. And they'll tell you that over the duration of that service, they'll actually become cheaper to work with Xerox than when you actually take the service out. It's these advanced services which are so special and really exciting people. And servitization is the process where a manufacturer moves from focusing just on base, which is product and spare parts, to the delivery of these advanced services. Not necessarily entirely, but certainly to a large extent. Now, what happens is when you start to get to a situation where you are delivering these advanced services and it becomes a large part of the organization, there becomes a tipping point. And the organization starts to look very different to the organization that's associated with the delivery of products. I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. Before I do, though, let me just go back to these advanced services and say there is two very distinct mindsets out here around advanced services. The predominant mindset says that advanced services are all about the total cost of ownership for the asset by the customer. And that's a great starting position. But there's a second position that says these advanced services are all about our customers becoming more competitive in their marketplace. And those companies that go out to help their customers, not just to reduce their cost, but actually to become more competitive as an organization, are the ones which really grasp the concept of advanced services. But they are very, very rare. But as time goes by, we will see more of these companies coming along. From the customer's perspective, they are outsourcing a portion of their activities to a technology innovator. And because it's a technology innovator, the technology innovator can find more ways to reduce and improve the customer's operations. As a consequence of that, what you find is the customer's competitiveness grows, and the customer not only reduces their costs, but also becomes more competitive in the marketplace. The report, which is about this, is actually from our website, and is on our website. I'll give you the address later, you can download it. But one of the best examples I've seen in this space in the UK is Alstom with their train life maintenance systems, the train life maintenance systems. 10, 15 years ago, the UK outsourced what was a publicly owned train system to a third-party provider, to Virgin, Alstom, and Angel Trains as a partnership. At that point in time, on one of the principal train routes in the UK, the footfall of passengers was about 30 million passengers per year. That particular system now is moving something like 35 million passengers per year. And most of that is because the quality of the service that the customer is getting massively exceeds that service that the customer used to get under public ownership. So these advanced services are very important. Let's just go back a little bit, though, and think about it from what it means to you as an organization. This chart here just really shows how, from a manufacturer's perspective, as they deliver more and more services to their customers, as they move through base, intermediate to advanced services with their customers, manufacturers can expect the amount of money they earn from that customer to increase. It's quite simple. You're doing more and more for your customer, so you can expect to gain more and more money back, assuming that you sell your services in a sensible way. Everybody gets very excited, though, when we start to talk about profit. And as I say, there's lots of caveats about profit. But what I've tended to see through the companies we've studied is that profit does follow the revenue. But it does fall away a little bit. It falls away because services, particularly advanced services, move us away from the economies of scale that you see if you take a production-based facility. So if you want to produce a product extremely cheaply, you stick the factory in China and you focus just on the production of one product. If you want to deliver, by contrast, an advanced service contract in the UK, where you've got lots of penalties associated with the delivery of that contract, you have to have a workforce in the UK, you have to have a footprint in the UK, etc. That move away from the economies of scale means that the profit dives down a little bit. It's not a great problem because the total profit is going up. It's just that the profit margin starts to fall away. You're getting a slightly more smaller slice of a much bigger cake. Where the real problems start to occur is if you try and to deliver as a manufacturing company these advanced services using the technologies, the people and the processes that you would use just for production. And because of the penalty and risk regime that's quite often associated with these advanced services, if you get it wrong, the consequences can be disastrous. They can cause the company to fail catastrophically. For example, if you look at a Virgin train running on the West Coast Main Line in the UK, the Alstom train, if that train is late coming into a station, the penalties can be up to £600 per minute. That's a huge penalty regime. You can't afford to do that. You can't afford to fail frequently. So the question then is, well, what do organizations look like that deliver these advanced services? Information and communication technology is, of course, key. We're seeing more and more at events like this, people coming along talking about the Internet of Things, customer to customer, the Internet of Customers, etc. The technology's been around for some time. This illustration here came through the work that I did with Rolls-Royce, and it's an illustration which shows how many products out in the field will have sensors on those products which will tell the home station where the product is, its condition, and how it's been used. So a Rolls-Royce gas turbine flying in an aeroplane, typically 6 times during the flight, will send back information either to Derby in the UK or Houston in Texas or wherever, which will say how 16 parameters on that gas turbine are varying. Caterpillar truck in a quarry, there might be 200 sensors. A train system, many more. If you look at an MAN truck in the UK running up and down the road systems, every 2 minutes, MAN are receiving information about where the truck is, how it's been driven, etc. So these systems are key.
So we talked about servitization and summing up for advice for companies who are on the servitization journey. But what if we look more specifically at the change management involved in that? Is there any advice you'd give to companies around change management and how they bring all their employees and functions on that journey?
So 2 points. The first thing is be clear in your mind that it starts with business model innovation, change management comes later.
Okay.
Focus on the business model innovation, don't worry about the change management in the first instance. Second point is with regards to the business model innovation, success is based upon the strength of the coalition, really great compelling stories and arguments to actually do it, and starting to create a bit of a vision about what a new service can actually look like. If you can create those three, if you can achieve those 3 points from the onset with a new business model innovation, change management will take care of itself in the longer term.